Welcome to On This Day on the Gruely Drew Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpasser, and on this day, February the 16th, 1970, Joe Frazier beats Jimmy Ellis to become the heavyweight champion of the world. Now, following Muhammad Ali's refusal to be drafted into the U.S. Army in June of 1967, and his being relieved of both his title and his license to box, the matter of who should be considered a heavyweight champion of the world became a question of continual debate. Many felt Ali, until he either lost a fight or retired, retained his title. And in keeping with the tradition, the championships were won and lost only in the squared circle. No less an authority than Ring Magazine kept Ali's name atop the division, despite his inability to compete. However, others decided it made sense to seek a new heavyweight king. The WBA held a tournament won by Jimmy Ellis to decide their title list, while several prominent U.S. states, including New York and Illinois, regarded the undefeated Joe Frazier as the champion after he battered and stopped fellow top contender Buster Mathis. Now, Buster Mathis is an interesting story with Joe Frazier because he actually beat Joe Frazier in the 1964 Olympic trials and was supposed to be the representative in the heavyweight division for the United States. But Mathis was injured. I think it was a broken hand. Frazier took his spot, ended up winning the gold medal. Now, while Ali waged an interminable legal battle, the drums began beating for a showdown between Ellis and Frazier. They faced off in New York's Madison Square Garden, where Frazier had beaten Mathis and most recently Jerry Quarry 2 weeks before the match. Ali graciously considered surrendering his claim to the title so the sport could move on. So Ali retired so it could move on. But we all know Ali did that because there's more money if you got two undefeated champions. And while Frazier was the clear betting favorite, Ali thought Ellis might have the style and talent to neutralize Joe's nonstop aggression, calling his former sparring partner, who had once beaten him in the amateurs, one of the prettiest boxers around. He was not alone. Many pundits liked the chances of the slick stylist, who had fared better than Frazier against rugged Oscar Bonavena. Bonavena, in a fight a year or two earlier, had actually floored Joe twice in one round and lost a close, heavily disputed decision. Now, for 3 minutes, those picking Jimmy were right. In front of a crowd of some 18,000 at Madison Square Garden, Ellis, working a sharp jab and a sharper right hand, kept Joe at the end of his punches and won the opening round. He was pretty indeed. So, starting in the second round, though, Frazier's greater strength and power called the tune, and Ellis couldn't keep up with the music. It was a fast-paced tempo, especially for heavyweights, and it suited Joe well as he bowled his way inside like a giant-sized Henry Armstrong, landing vicious shots to both the body and the head. Early in round three, a huge left hook staggered Ellis and instantly eliminated any chance he had of winning. Frazier freely pounded away for the next 2 minutes, twice almost knocking Ellis down. It was courage alone that saw Jimmy to the bell. Joe sported a wide grin as he returned to his corner. Ellis's only hope was to land a big shot to get Frazier's respect, to force him to slow the pace, and at the start of the fourth, he let go with a series of rights, but the punches did no damage. With awesome efficiency, Joe cut the distance and battered Ellis from one side of the ring to the other. Still hurting for the punishment he'd absorbed in the previous round, Ellis could not keep Frazier at bay, could not check his momentum, while the bigger man with the heavier artillery couldn't miss. A series of thudding blows put Ellis down near his corner, and all were surprised when Jimmy beat the count. In less than 5 minutes he had taken a frightful beating, but game to the end, he stood his ground, but was dropped again just before the bell, a massive hook catching him flush on the jaw and putting him flat on his back. Somehow he gets to his feet and then to his corner, where Angelo Dundee asked him, and of course Dundee was also Muhammad Ali's trainer, if he was all right. Ellis lied and said, "I'm fine," sensing Dundee's concern and attempting to reassure him. "I'm okay, I was only down once." Hearing that, Dundee summoned a referee and ended the match. The Ring Magazine formally recognized Frazier as the world's heavyweight champion a few weeks later. And 8 months later, the people's champion, Muhammad Ali, finally returned to the ring, scoring a TKO victory in Atlanta, Georgia in the third round over Jerry Quarry. Two undefeated heavyweight champions with legit claims to the title begged the question, who was the real champion? And of course, there was only one way to find out. And in March of 1971, we found out. And in a month, you can come back to On This Day and hear that. The thing about Joe Frazier is, I think a lot of people underrate how great a fighter he was. I mean, the battering of Jimmy Ellis, that night in March 1971, when Joe Frazier went to war with Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier probably could have beaten anybody that ever lived. Now, he spent a couple weeks in a hospital after that fight, and I think it's safe to say that Muhammad Ali kind of beat greatness out of him. And, that Ali was still a great fighter, even though he'd been out of the ring for 3 years. He'd stopped Oscar Bonavina in the 15th round, had stopped Jerry Corey in the 3rd round. Both tough game, really good fighters. And I think when people look at Joe Frazier, I think they forget of the greatness of that night. I mean, there was very few, if any, fighters for one night that were better than what Joe Frazier was. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up for On This Day. I want to remind you, you hear On This Day almost every day. We've been a little sporadic with it lately, but we're going to get it going again. So make sure you check back with us frequently. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. Make sure you go like our Facebook page. If you get a chance, go to Apple Podcast, leave a comment, a rating. Help us, kind of gain some momentum and get even bigger. You can hear all of our podcasts anywhere you find podcasts, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, you name it, The Grueling Truth is there. So for now, this has been Mike Goodpastor, and you've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.